Persona is one of my favorite video game series of all time. It's probably the only series that I'll play anything with that name slapped on it. Yes, even a fighting game, because that's exactly what Persona 4 Arena Ultimax is. Now the question is, will I even like it? Turns out, yeah, I kinda do. Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, or as they call it in Japan, Persona 4 Ultimax Ultra Suplex Hold, is the sequel to the first original Persona 4 fighting game, Persona 4 Arena. The game is a collaboration between the Atlas Persona team and Arc System Works, the same guys who make Guilty Gear and BlazBlue. So my problem with most anime fighters is that they're pretty complex. They have all these crazy systems that can take quite a long time to master, time that I don't have or even care about all that much. Luckily, Persona 4 Arena simplifies some of those systems to draw in the Persona fans who don't really play fighting games. Some of those simplified systems include the auto combo system, which lets you just mash the weak attack button and eventually your combo will end in one of your supers. The other system is new to this game, the skill hold system. You just hold down the weak attack button and eventually you'll be able to charge up to either a regular skill or a super or even your instant kill move. Though I still found myself using the button combos over the skill hold or auto combo system because it does more damage that way. And if you want to move past the beginner systems, the training modes in the game do a really good job at teaching you what exactly is the more advanced moves. All you gotta do is practice a bit and they'll eventually be burned into your brain. But there's way more new stuff in this game too. It's a fighting game sequel, so of course you can expect new characters. Ultimax almost doubles the roster by adding a few characters from Persona 3 and Persona 4 like Rise, Yukari, Ken, Junpei, but also giving a bunch of the characters a new shadow type. The shadow type characters have more HP, do less damage, and don't have the burst mechanic that all the other characters do. To replace the burst skill, what they have is this weird shadow burst mode. Your character's SP continuously drains, but they can activate supers at a much lower cost. Unfortunately, I didn't feel like the shadow characters added much to the game. They seemed kind of frivolous, to be honest. Their characters seem to add more complexity to the game without much benefit, and I found myself just using the regular versions of those characters way more often. Moving on, now we have Persona 4 Arena Ultimax's story mode. This game's story mode is much improved over the first games. Instead of having to play the entire story through with every character with only slight differences, you now have two parts of the story to choose from. Episode P4 and Episode P3. Instead of choosing a character at the beginning and going through the story with them, it's just one long timeline that you keep going through sequentially. You'll have the opportunity to fight with different fighters depending on what part of the story you're in. The majority of the story is a visual novel. You'll be reading much more than you'll be actually fighting characters. So if you're not into slow-moving stories or reading a lot of text, you probably want to stay away from this mode. One little problem from the first game story mode also rears its head here: plot holes. Depending on which side of the story you choose, you'll notice that some characters will be in different places at different times. For example, in episode P4, Labra spends most of her time with Naoto, but in episode P3, she spends it with most of the Persona 3 characters. Luckily, Atlas and Arc did a great job at making the Persona 3 and Persona 4 characters feel exactly like they were in their previous games. The interactions between the characters are spot on and very entertaining. That is, for most of them. One of the new characters, Sho, actually kind of seems a little kind of ham-fisted. It's almost as if he was kind of forced in there to just be the villain of the game. Even his backstory is a little lackluster. They do expound on it a little bit in the P3 side of the story, but even then, it's not too great. A new mode called Golden Arena Mode combines the fighting game with a bunch of RPG elements. You choose a character and then you go on a series of one-round fights. As you progress through these fights, your character actually levels up. You gain experience and skill points. You add these skill points to different stats, increasing the amount of health you have, the amount of damage you deal, the amount of SP you recover, and more. You even gain some cool passive skills that will activate in the middle of the battle. This is probably my favorite mode of the entire game. I spent quite a few hours just grinding these levels out. It's incredibly fun, and I'm glad they added these RPG elements to this game. And of course, this game has online functionality. The online was incredibly stable. I only saw a bit of slowdown while the stages were loading, but none in the fights themselves. The game will try to match you up with someone close to your experience, but even then, I got my ass kicked very hard. You probably don't want to go online unless you're pretty experienced at this game already. One cool feature that's exclusive to the PS3 version of the game is the lobbies. The lobbies are a fun way to challenge players or create groups with your friends. You have these adorable little chibi avatars of Persona characters that walk around the area and they sit at little arcade cabinets to play the game. You can chat with people sending preset messages, add emoticons, and of course, fight. My one gripe with the lobby system is that some of the best avatars to walk around as are locked behind DLC. I want to walk around as the P3 protagonist, goddammit. Persona 4 Arena Ultimax is a solid fighting game with enough content for both Persona fans and fighting game fans. You'll probably get more out of it if you already like fighting games, but if you don't, that's okay, because as a Persona fan, you can probably go ahead and pick this up and have a great time with it.